NERDSoul.
I had you a black man to love. Welcome back to Black Together, A Walk in Her Shoes. I am Lady Lisa, and I am here with my sister cousin, partner in crime, Kim, aka Madam Butterfly.
Peace, love, and light, everybody.
We'd like to thank NERDSoul for allowing us on his platform, ThatNERDSoul.com. Come back and check out his other videos he has. He has video game reviews, movie reviews, TV show reviews, anything in the Black geek culture. And also check out a collaboration that I did with Ross on Life Unscripted called Dig Deeper. Check that out. And also check us out on Twitter, BT A Walk in Her SH1, on Instagram, BT underscore A Walk in Her Shoes, and on Facebook, BT A Walk in Her Shoes. And we also have a Facebook group where you can actually start some questions, conversations about some of our videos. All right. So, Madam Butterfly, what do we have in our shoebox today?
Today we have a Dr. Scholl's Dynamo slip-resistant nursing clog because we are talking about Black health and our cultural diet of heart attacks and strokes.
Whew. All right. We've had some very interesting shoes lately.
I'm just saying we needed medical care. And who provides medical care in anything other than a nursing clog?
There you go. There you go. Not a dynamo slip.
I had to choose the best of the best now.
Oh my god.
Better than Dr. Scholl's.
There you go. There you go. Too funny. All right. So today we are actually starting a series called Black Girl Magic, Smoke and Mirrors versus the Truth. And this series has several parts to it. So we're covering one part today. And pretty much the reason, why we're doing this series is in just having different conversations with, other Black women, I kind of came to the conclusion that this Black girl magic idea has kind of possibly gone a little left. Now, it's of course a great saying, a great concept, in celebrating Black women. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. However, I feel like it's possible that we as Black women have taken on the stress, possibly, or responsibility of wanting or feeling like we're supposed to appear like we're always okay. Like everything is always great. My hair's done, my nails done, I look fantastic. Everything with me is going fine, great, and lovely. No worries, right? So we're just going to explore, some of the ideas of possibly we're not magic. Again, not to take away from that saying, because that is to celebrate us, but we can't, and other people can't forget that in all reality, we don't mean that we are literally magic. We feel, we hurt, we stress, we need each other. Sometimes we need a break. Sometimes we're just not okay. And that's okay.
Right.
So we're gonna cover all of those things. And like Madam Butterfly just said, we're going to be talking about our health and our diet on today. So this first part is called Killing Me Softly, Health and Cultural Diet, Heart Disease and Stroke, which is the leading killer of Black women, while also being least heard when giving medical complaints to physicians. So let's start with some information that you want to share with us, with everybody, Kim.
Yeah, so cardiovascular disease. Mm-hmm. It kills nearly 50,000 African American women each year. Of African American women ages 20 and older, 49% have heart disease. Only 1 in 5 of those women believes that they are personally at risk.
Mm.
Only 52% of African American women are aware of the signs and symptoms of a heart attack. And only 36% of African American women know that heart disease is their greatest health risk.
Wow.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. Um, and I guess, I guess the next question that a lot of people will have is like, well, why? Why are we, so much more at risk? And why do we not know it for the most part? What do you think?
I think that first and foremost, our diet and our overall view, generally speaking, as a culture, our view on health,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you think about like in certain regions of the country, like the South,
Mm-hmm.
it's more uh, celebrated in the South to
Mm-hmm.
be heavier.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, food is a big part of Black traditions,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a happy occasion or a sad occasion, there's
Yeah.
typically a lot of food.
Yeah.
And a lot of those foods are, fried, and there's lard and butter and,
Mm-hmm.
all of the things that make it delicious. I ain't even gonna lie.
Yes.
But, that's part of our culture, to have that soul food, and those comfort foods
Mm-hmm.
that are damaging to our
Yeah.
health, and
Yeah.
culturally we really don't um, celebrate the importance of like exercise
Mm-hmm.
and that type of thing, so all of that kind of leads us on a destructive path. And I wanted to just add, um, when you really think about the legacy of some of the things that are classified as soul food,
Mm-hmm.
it really was slave food,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
we just continue to carry those traditions on, and did not really do anything to tweak those things to make it healthier, a
Yeah.
healthier option.
Yeah. Or get rid of some of them because some of them you just can't tweak. You can't tweak chitlins. You can't. I mean,
That's the truth for a hog maw. I don't even know where the maw of a hog is, but I can assure you, you can do without
the
it.
maw of a hog. I don't know. But I do know chitlins was the carrier of uh excretions, we'll say. And I don't want to eat a bag that formerly carried excretions. Just don't. Never had the desire. I've never tasted chitlins.
Me
God
either.
willing, I never will. Okay. If my
Ah.
black card needs to be revoked, I will deliver it immediately.
Well, it really is a miracle that we haven't had chitlins, considering that, we come from a long line of country folk.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It is really a miracle that we've never had chitlins.
It's not that I have not had the opportunity to.
Right, right, right.
I just was like, I'm not putting in my mouth something that smell like that.
Right. Thankfully, it
No,
was
thank
never
you.
put on a plate and we had to sit there until we finished it.
Ooh,
Thankfully,
girl,
that
I
never
would have been at
happened.
Granny's house right now, sitting in that same chair, nibbling on that slab bacon. But yes, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Lord.
I digress. um, so yeah,
Oh,
and I think also, and I have to agree with you, kind of going back to more so in the South. Um, even I think as Black people, when we come around family, that has these deep traditions and have stuck to these deep traditions of, soul food, and you say, oh well, I don't eat meat anymore, or I don't eat pork anymore, or I'm just, eating differently anymore, you're looked at as trying to be, quote, extra,
Right.
or trying to be bougie,
Uh-huh.
or, you know, trying to be all these different things.
White. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and say it.
Yeah.
White.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And it's
Yeah.
like, no, I'm just trying to live a little bit longer.
Right.
That's all I'm really trying to do. But yeah, so that's interesting. I just wanted to add that little bit to it.
That's
So
true. And
yeah,
then two,
go
oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry. And two, I can remember um, the skinnier people, or if someone lost weight, let's say somebody was a big person and they decided to do something about their health and they started losing weight, it was like, oh, they look sick.
Mm-hmm.
They must have something going on, or they on drugs or whatever.
Yeah.
It couldn't just be that they're taking control of their life and they
Yeah.
don't want to, live that way anymore. It always had something extra with it. So the norm was to be at least plump, if
Yeah.
not if not obese.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So, you know, I always felt like the odd duck out, and, always knew some comment was going to be made. Girl, you need to eat. Look at
Hmm.
you. You're so tiny. I know you don't have any problem finding clothes. It's like, can we
Yep.
just not every time?
Right.
Every time.
That's real. And for those of us who are on the fluffier side of the spectrum, it's like you already know. Like we can sit here all day and try to pretend like once you get to a certain size that, oh, it's still, you can be fat and fabulous and all of this kind of stuff. Like, yeah, you can wear nice clothes, you
Mm-hmm.
can make sure that your hair is together and all of that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, when you walk across that parking lot, you winded, boo boo. At the
Mm,
end of the day, your knees, your ankles, your hips, whatever is going to be hurting from the weight that you are supporting.
yeah.
That's real. And
Yeah.
that's basic physiology. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And so we have to stop making these um, justifications and excuses that are to our detriment.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you hate yourself because you are a plus size person.
Mm-hmm.
That's not it. You can love yourself and accept yourself and all of that kind of stuff as a plus size person.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that um, glamorizing something that is painful to you is helpful to anyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just real. And I'm
Yeah.
I'm saying that I know that they can't see us. I'm saying that as a plus size woman,
Yeah. And
that
and I
it
think
is
it's
difficult.
important to come from you, because you know what I mean? I think it's important that that is coming from you,
Hmm.
because right now we seem to be in this place where I do feel that I think this whole, not, I'm not going to say people being overweight, women being overweight is kind of being glamorized.
For sure.
And I know you have to be kind of careful with it and how you explain it, but to me, it, trying to find my words. And I know there was a big controversy around, and now I can't think of her name. It just left me. Huh? Lizzo. That's it. Thank you.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Around Lizzo. Because there was, and now I can't remember her name. There was a, what's the workout person that did, was it The Biggest Loser?
Michaels.
Yes, Jillian
Yeah,
Michaels.
Jillian Michaels. Uh-huh,
She
uh-huh.
made some comments about Lizzo. I can't remember exactly what they were, but they were to the extent of, she's glamorizing being heavy and being overweight. and she was pretty much, slammed because she said that. And it's like, I kind of understood where she was coming from. You know, no one's saying that anyone needs to walk around hating themselves. No one's saying that. No one's saying anybody should hide and shame and any of that. But I do think there's a fine line between having self-confidence and trying to make being obese the thing.
Right.
And I think that's kind of, where things were going, was like, oh, it's the thing now is to be obese. And no one wants to call it that,
I mean, that's what it is.
but that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, you can think that you're cute and still have heart disease. The two can go together.
You can be cute. Not just think you're cute, but be cute and still have heart disease.
Right. And I think, because that same caution, I don't think is there for women who are extremely skinny, that may be malnourished. You know what I mean? I think that there's definitely a belief, just a social belief or assumption, I should say, that when you are plus size, that you automatically have some of the health conditions that you may not have.
True.
But the reality is, the more weight that you put on, the more you put yourself at risk for different things. That's a reality. That we can go into, all of the things that potentially influence whether a person is overweight or not. You know what I mean? Of course, there's the cultural things, and food addiction is real. You know what I mean? It's real. And so we have to just be honest about what our situation is. And that kind of goes into the whole concept of Black girl magic. Like, we're going to pretend like everything is okay when it's not. You know what I mean? When I put my little dress on, or I put my little whatever on, I know I'm cute. I feel cute and all of that. But at the same time, I know that if I walk a certain distance, my knees going to be crying. They're going to be crying for that oil can, like the Tin Man. That's real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm plus size because I like biscuits. They're delicious. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, it's like in no way am I somehow unaware of what my circumstance is and the need for me to make better decisions so that I don't have those health issues in the future, because it could happen very quickly without any notice. So,
because we don't know what's going on, right now in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And again, it's so important that it's coming from you, because you do, I've heard and I've seen so many women that struggle with their weight, and to hear them talk about it, it's not a struggle. I'm just a big girl. Accept it. It is what it is. And it's like, okay, so we just going to act like there are no issues, when I do see you struggling to walk.
Right.
When I do see you literally caving in on your own body.
Right. That's real.
And
see, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, down to, because I've seen it, because of course we have a lot of people in our family, that struggle with their weight. And I've seen through the years, some of them kind of fluctuate, they'll lose a lot of weight, then they'll go back and put the weight back on and back and forth. And you can see in their body, literally how it's worn on their body and in their knees. I don't know why, but I noticed in, a few people some years ago, it looks like their knees are literally buckling in through the years. It looks like their legs are going in. And it's like, you're literally crushing yourself.
That's real.
And that's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And that lets you know, like, like I said, food addiction is real. And that's not a scapegoat or a crutch or anything like that. Everybody has their coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
And, for some people it's food. Now, I will say, I've experienced both sides because, as
Mm-hmm.
you know, when I was younger, I was skinny,
Mm-hmm.
I was wearing a size 7 and all of that kind of stuff, even after I had my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, it wasn't just like, oh, I had kids and then, you
Mm-hmm.
know, everything just went everywhere. But no, it was like, over time, as I got
Yeah.
older, um, you know, I started using food more and more as a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And, at this point it is what it is. In no way would I ever try to glorify what it's like in this body. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And for any once again, this is not about self-love versus self-hate. This is about reality versus fantasy, or trying to keep up appearances.
Yeah.
And I can vividly remember the very first time I ever got chub rub. And for all y'all skinny women that don't know what chub rub is, let me explain it to you. This is when your thighs get to the point that when you walk, they rub together in a way that is not pleasant. Okay? And skin starts to chafe and get raw, and you either need some material to separate it, some salve for them old school people, some powder, some something that's gonna keep that friction from happening. That very
Wow.
first time that you get chub rub, when you go from skinny to plus size, ain't no joke. I don't care
Mm.
who you are. And that is a reality check.
Mm.
Then you start having to make modifications and adjustments. That is real. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, that is real.
Yeah.
So before I became plus size, I ain't know nothing about no chub rub.
Girl, this is the first time I'm hearing that term today. I was
There are
today
plenty of
years old when I learned that.
there are plenty of plus size women that are listening to this right now, know exactly what I'm talking about when I say chub rub. Not only that, they have jeans, slacks, shorts, culottes for that matter, that are
Oh, not
all
the
worn,
kulaks. If you have
that are
kulaks,
that are all thinned, worn out, or have holes in the thighs if you wear them long enough, because that's what chub rub does. That's what it does. You know what I mean? And that's just one trivial aspect
yeah.
of the change from going to, being average size, so to speak, to
Hmm.
going to being plus size. So that's not to say, oh, you may love your body looking a certain way or whatever. That's not what this conversation is about. It's in relation to health.
Yeah.
And there's a huge issue with Black women and health and the
Mhm.
things that affect us. And it's definitely linked to diet and exercise.
Yeah. And, you know, we have to be real about the fact that, um, because a lot of people will say, oh, it's just my glands. Okay. I do understand that some people have gland issues, but not that many for it to be an epidemic amongst Black women. Let's stop it. Okay, before y'all start, let's stop it.
My glands
Um,
like biscuits.
she
That's
got
what
that
my
flower
glands like.
gland.
Yeah. With a little splash of K Rose syrup.
Oh, oh my lord, where is that gland located? But
Whew.
um, you know, so we have to, be real about this thing and say, a lot of this comes from stress as Black women,
Mhm.
and so then we get stressed and we eat. But like you said, in our culture, there's a spread of food for a happy event and there's a spread of food for a sad event. Well,
Mhm.
that pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
So whatever we doing, there's a spread of food, and a little baby vegetable tray back in the corner, you know, just because you picked it up at the food line. you
Right.
know. So we just have to come to that reality. So the thing is, going back to Black Girl Magic, if we have a bunch of us that are eating, because of stress, in addition to, these events, whether we're happy or sad, then that means we have to be careful once again with this Black Girl Magic concept.
Mhm.
Well, if we're magic, we're not stressed. You get what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
So we have to keep that in context, and we have to not pressure ourselves and each other, along with convincing others that we are these magical beings that have
Right.
everything together and aren't stressed, because it's showing on our bodies.
Mhm.
The stress, the lack of exercise, the poor diet, all of that is showing on our body. So in a way, it kind of makes us look a little crazy, always saying, oh, well, Black Girl Magic this, and behaving in a way that we're just so fabulous, but it's showing on our bodies. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Again, not to take away from how fabulous Black women are. We are.
Right.
We just have to um, stop trying to convince everyone else that we are,
Mhm.
and be that, because we're not
Exactly.
as fabulous as we can be and should be when it
Mhm.
comes to taking care of our bodies and
Mhm.
taking care of our health.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of times when see Black women, whether it's in, TV and movies or if it's in real life, the way to validate their existence is like, well, I'm a strong Black woman. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And so it's like, okay, well, what does it mean to be strong?
Yes.
And what we have equated strength to is suffering in silence.
Yes.
That's not strength. You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
That's a high threshold for pain. That's tolerance.
Yeah.
But it's not strength.
Right.
It's not addressing anything,
Mhm.
because what takes an incredible amount of strength is addressing whatever your issues are
Mhm.
and working towards viable solutions,
Yeah.
to change your condition. But being angry, being hurt, and using loud aggression as a way to keep people at bay,
Mhm.
all of those things have a physiological consequence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're carrying all of that energy inside of you. Like, what do you think that it's doing to your organs? What
Yeah.
do you think that it's doing to your immune system and your overall health? That's real.
That's very real.
Yeah.
That's very real. Um
Hmm.
yeah. So we just have to be, first, of course, have to be conscious and become conscious of all of those things,
Hmm.
and like you said, know the difference between um you know just because we're talking about, okay, our our weight and everything, doesn't mean if you're heavy you have to dislike yourself. And we're
Right.
not saying that you should or you do dislike yourself because you are
Hmm.
heavy. It's just about coming to a reality with things, because it's so easy to get caught up into what's popular on social media.
Right.
Very, very easy to slip into those things, and next thing you know, you start believing all of these things that's being put out there. And so
Hmm.
we just have to kind of come back to reality, because we as Black folks in general don't have the room to feed into all of these things going on in social media, in terms of how they want to label us, or what they want to put out there. Even
Hmm.
the whole thing with Lizzo. I feel like she's kind of come and gone. Honestly, you don't really hear much about her
Hmm.
anymore. I think in terms of social media, I think she served her purpose to that entity, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's unfortunate, but I feel like there was negatives and positives with her. I think she did, make some heavier plus size women feel really good, because
Hmm.
she's out there doing her thing. And I think that's fabulous.
Hmm.
But then on the other side, I think she may have made some women feel like, oh, I don't need to change anything. I'm going to be like Lizzo.
Right.
I'm just going to keep doing me and be plus size, and it's going to be great.
Right. That's real. But it's interesting how the celebrities that come out and make money being a plus size person, like
Mm-hmm.
that's part of their shtick.
Mm-hmm.
If their career lasts long enough, there's always some weight loss reveal.
Heavy
You know what
D.
I mean? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Heavy D.
you could
Rick
name
Ross. Didn't Rick Ross lose all that
yes,
weight? Yeah.
yes, he did. Oprah, Adele, um,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? Like there's plenty of people that we could go down the list from different generations
Yeah.
where that has happened.
Luther.
But one thing I did want to speak on is that, the universe operates in balance.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever there is something out of balance, it's a trickle down effect. It affects everything,
Mm-hmm.
And so, in terms of health, you have to think about like how we were in our indigenous state.
Mm-hmm.
What did we eat? What
Mm-hmm.
did we do? What was our level of activity? All of
Mm-hmm.
these things, because those genetic markers are still there, regardless of our social positioning.
Mm-hmm.
Those genetic markers are still there.
Yeah.
So um, it's important to try your best to be in alignment with the purest natural form of self.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying this like, I'm not trying to tell somebody to do something that I'm not trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
It has been a struggle for me. Like, I'm not even going to front. It has been a struggle for me. And the thing that has um, kicked me into motivation at various times in my life is because I felt the difference in my body. You know, I would be in pain, start losing some weight, start feeling better. I'm able to be more active and all of that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then fall off again. And
Yeah.
then I would know when I would start getting to a certain weight because of how my body felt. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so if my body is responding in this way, clearly it's causing some type of damage. Now, it
Right.
may not be long term. I might be able to lose 20 pounds and go right back to feeling good. But
Mm-hmm.
that continuous fluctuation in putting that pressure, does that mean that by the time I'm 60 that I'm going to need a knee replacement or something?
Right.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's a whole other thing, because when you get into hospitalizations and mortality rates
Mm-hmm.
with black women, and having pain and not being listened to or believed,
Yeah.
when we're saying that these things are um, bothering us,
Yeah.
you know, that's a whole other side of it
Yeah.
that has nothing really to do directly with the food per se in that
Yeah.
instance. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh Lord.
But then you talking about that with the hospitalization makes me think of how the other way that problems are solved, and this isn't just you know among black women or black people, but then it's like, oh well, I'll just take 10 different medications. I'll
Right.
continue to eat how I want to eat, and this is the trough of medications I'll take every day
Right.
for the rest of my life, and that's just what it is.
Right. And it's like, first of all, why would you want to have to live on medications in order to sustain your life? Second of all, medications have so many different side effects that you're taking one medication just to eliminate the side effect of another.
Yeah.
Um, Third of all, like, how many medications do we have to take before a quiet commercial comes on
Yep.
that says that we have mesothelioma before we
Hmm.
stop doing this. Like, there
Yeah.
are answers to um, our health problems in the food that we eat,
Absolutely.
you know? And so
Absolutely.
I think pharma has proven to Black people more often than not that they have no interest whatsoever in how these medications negatively impact us,
Right.
but yet we trust and depend on
Yeah.
these things for us to live.
Yeah. And we're not saying by any means that no one should take medication for anything.
Right.
We're not saying that. We're not, I don't want anybody to think that's
We're
what
not
we're doing here.
Scientologists. Right.
No, we're not saying that. I mean, of course, medication, um, and modern technology is a great thing. However,
Mhm.
it shouldn't be the answer for everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Every time something is wrong, you run to the medicine cabinet or you run to the doctor and get a prescription.
Right.
And I honestly think that there are many doctors who are at a point where that's what they do. Now, uh, of course, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but of course, there is an issue with Black women going to doctors and feeling like we're being heard or being listened to, right?
Mhm.
Or having doctors have regard for what we're saying, right?
Mhm.
But on the flip side, I think some doctors have gotten to the point in dealing with Black people, right? Where they say, okay, so you're going to need to lose a few pounds. You're going to need to change your diet. You're going to need to cut back on the sugar. You need to cut back on the salt. I'm going to need you to do some walking, exercising.
I ain't finna do that.
Or they go, okay. They come back, for their next appointment. Nothing's changed.
Right.
So then the doctor decides in their mind, well, I'm just going to have to give you medication,
Right.
you know, and this happens, and then they get to the point where they're like, let me just jump to the medication. But I'm not
Right.
even going to talk to them about the food and the exercise. I'm going to write you a prescription. And that patient happily takes the prescription and is so glad that they ain't say nothing to them about giving up their biscuits and their
That's
ham
real.
hocks
That's
because they
real.
won't fit to do it no way.
That's
So go and
real.
give me this prescription and we can both have a good day.
Yep. Or finding ways to
You
still be
know?
able to do wait, that's real. And finding ways to be able to continue doing what they're doing and justify it in a way. So, like, okay,
Yeah.
because I have high blood pressure, I know if I eat this ham, it's gonna make my head hurt. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna boil the ham first to get some of the salt out of it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and eat it. Not I'm just gonna cut out the ham, but I'm gonna boil it first so I can be able to eat it. I'm gonna boil some of that salt out. That's what. Come on now. Come on now. I
Or
guarantee you there's some listeners that know
I've had
somebody
a
that boiled some salt out of
yes.
a ham.
Or I have had this headache all day. I don't know why. What'd you eat today? Well, I did have all that bacon this morning.
And look,
Hell.
I
What
was
else did you
what
have today? Oh, I ate like a bag of some potato chips.
well, look, when
Uh,
I was doing research for this show, I learned something that I did not know, and I don't
mhm.
remember what the medical journal was that I was looking at. It was four letters. I don't remember, but anyway, it was talking about how uh,
We are full of information, y'all.
it's four letters. Just put four letters randomly together, and hopefully you'll come up with it.
Oh, somebody got 4 letters for you.
but there it was something about that there is a gene that is predominantly found in Black people that makes us
Mm.
more vulnerable or sensitive to the effects of salt in our bloodstream.
Mm.
And it was talking about, it got kind of technical about, the breakdown of salt and how it, metabolizes or whatever in your body and all of that stuff. And I was just like,
Mhm.
wow, that's something that's really interesting, and that kind of ties into
Yeah.
what I was talking about in terms of us being in our indigenous state and us
Hmm.
operating in a certain way, and you know n- not taking those things into consideration, or
Yeah.
having the societal norms outweigh what it is that we may know about how our
Yeah.
diet and our activity was in our indigenous state.
Yeah.
I had never heard
Yeah.
anything like that before. I knew that, a lot of Black people have high blood pressure and, all of that, but I had no idea that, from a genetic sense, that
Yeah.
we were more sensitive. So that was pretty interesting.
Wow. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, these are all, good things to know, because knowing that it's like, okay, knowing that we're already, you know, behind to say in terms of being able to fight this, we need to do everything that we can, you know, um, to not put this on ourselves to suffer from high blood pressure and diabetes and what have you. And
Right.
I just also wanted to say, we're not trying to, of course, uh, minimize anybody's struggle by
Hmm.
putting out here the unnecessary struggles that we put ourselves through. We understand that there are some people that are taking medications and are on diets and they're still struggling.
Hmm.
I saw my father do that with all of the medication he was taking, you know, um, you know, the last few years of his life. I mean, he
Hmm.
took so many medications, for his issues, and he was up and down with his diet because there was frustration,
Yeah.
with I'm cutting back on this and I'm not doing this and it's still not making a difference. So,
Right.
not to take away from those people that are trying to do better and struggle. We're pretty much just talking about those that are just kind of, you know, pushing it on the side and pretending it isn't an issue. It is indeed an issue. And
It is.
I think a lot of the things that we are dying from and suffering from, uh, we don't need to in mass
Right.
like we are now to truly do
Self-inflicted.
Black girl magic.
Hmm.
We could do so much better for ourselves and for each other.
So very true.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's move on and talk about Black women in childbirth.
Yes. So once again, in my research, you won't have to go looking for four random letters to try to verify this. But American women die in childbirth at a higher rate than any other developed country, while non Hispanic Black women are more than 3 times more likely to have a maternal death than white women.
Wow.
And when I read that, I thought about there was a TV judge, and I cannot remember what court show that she was on. It was a black lady. It wasn't divorce court, but it was a black lady who was a TV judge, and her daughter-in-law died in childbirth. And it was a situation where she had told, the doctors, the staff, or whatever, that something wasn't right. She wasn't feeling right. They weren't, they were kind of dismissing her, blowing her
Mm-hmm.
off. And I want to say she had a C-section, and she was actually bleeding internally.
Oh my
So she's
gosh.
trying to tell them that something's wrong with
Mm-hmm.
her. And instead of them doing their due diligence to figure out what was going on, they just dismissed her, and
Mm.
she slowly bled to death
Oh my
laying in that
God.
hospital bed, you know. And
Wow.
so the judge and her son kind of went on a crusade to, bring light
And I want to
to
say
these
I heard
types of
about this
things.
and I can't recall which judge it is either. But
Yeah, I
yeah.
can see her face,
Hmm.
but I don't remember her name, and I don't remember which court show that she was on. But it was a fairly popular show, probably like maybe the early 2000s or something like
Okay.
that. Yeah, so that's just one, one case out of many,
Yeah.
and when you really think about modern technology, in comparison to the way that it was not even a long time ago, like
Hmm.
our parents
Yep.
our parents were born in houses that
Yeah.
didn't have electricity and
Yeah.
stuff like that. That wasn't that
Absolutely.
long ago. You know
No.
what I mean? So the level of advancement that has happened a lot of times by doing experimentation on us, but that's a whole other
Absolutely.
conversation.
Mm.
um it's sadly ironic,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's sadly ironic that black women die at a higher rate than white women, whether it's childbirth or other hospitalizations. There's still a disparity.
Yeah.
However, we were the bodies that were utilized as guinea pigs for us to
Absolutely.
have the medical advancements that we have today.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Sadly
and that's a
ironic.
fact. Anyone listening to this, that's a fact. You can research that.
Hmm.
It is indeed true. And it was gory and it
Hmm.
was cruel and it was, I'll say, demonic.
Hmm.
But again, that's another show. We're not going to get too much further into that.
It's so
Um,
real.
but I think also part of it too, because I want to think about, you know, what we can do on our side of it. It's nothing
Hmm.
we can really do immediately about doctors who, because of their own biases, won't, listen to us or take us seriously, what have you. But um, I think part of it is we don't visit the doctor, as much as we should in comparison, to white women or other races,
Hmm.
so we need to do better with going to the doctor. We're less likely to have consistent doctor's visits when we're pregnant,
Hmm.
those kind of things. And I know that's due to the disparity in terms of healthcare,
Hmm.
you know. So those
Hmm.
that's something to take into consideration. Again, eating, in terms of our diet and the importance of that. But again, we just need to do what we can do. We can't change the whole system, all at one time. That's something that we can work on and fight over time. But for now, we can do better in terms of taking care of ourselves. So for
Yeah.
those of us that do have health care or have access to clinics,
Hmm.
we need to do better with taking advantage of that and taking care of ourselves, um, and eating better. Do your research, when there's something wrong. Research what foods can help with that versus what medicines can
Yeah.
help with that.
And if you feel like you're being dismissed by a doctor that you're going to, find another doctor. You know,
Absolutely.
I think sometimes, black folks are programmed to just blindly accept
Yeah.
whatever it is that the doctor has to say. And you may feel a certain type of way, but if the doctor is insisting that, you know, it's nothing or whatever, and then you continue on knowing that you're feeling the way that you are,
Yeah.
but dismissing your pain, that's not good, you
Yeah.
know. And I can
Absolutely.
remember, years ago when my children were small, I had health insurance. I always had health insurance except for uh, during the Obama administration. Whole other
Hmm.
conversation.
Hmm.
But I had the health
Isn't that
insurance.
ironic? But go ahead.
But I had the health insurance, but when it came to the day to day of paying copays and stuff like
Mm.
that,
Yeah.
you know, that was where the difficulty came in.
Hmm.
I had four boys. I'm trying to figure out how to make sure everybody's fed, everybody's
Hmm.
clothed, all that kind of stuff. And to be thinking about a 25 or $50 copay, being taken from the household at
Hmm.
that time, that was a big deal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I'm making decisions. I'm
Mhm.
making health decisions based on finances. And
Yeah,
people shouldn't be in that predicament.
girl.
You know what I
Only,
mean? They
only in
really shouldn't
America.
be in that predicament. And the reality is too, because I have to be real with how prideful I used to be
Hmm.
back in the day. I'm sure if I had gone to my grandmother or my
Hmm.
aunt or my mother or somebody and said, listen, I'm not feeling well. I want
Hmm.
to go to the doctor. I don't have the $25 copay. I
Hmm.
just need the $25 copay so I can go to the doctor and figure out what's going on with me.
Hmm.
I'm sure that any of them
Yeah.
would have happily given me the money. But
Yeah.
see, I'm black girl magic and I don't
Oh.
need help and I'm taking care of everything on my own because I'm a strong black woman. So I'm going to suffer in silence. And whatever,
Because that's what strong black women do.
right.
Hmm.
I mean, this, let's just be real because it all goes together.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It all goes together. And so we can put on the mask. We can spend that same $25 that we could go towards a copay to make sure that we got the right makeup,
Hmm.
to make sure that we got the right clothes, to
Hmm.
make sure that our hair is done so that we can appear okay. But it's
Yeah.
all this chaos and confusion going on the inside.
Literally going on the inside.
100%.
Yeah, that's real.
100%.
That's real. Now, this is a really good segue into our next segment, in your Black business. And because we are talking about healthcare and taking care of yourselves, we are going to be highlighting two websites that will actually help you find Black doctors in your area. I personally, you know, made a conscious effort to find a Black and female GYN, um, you know, and I'm so glad I did. And I'm so glad I found these resources later on. Kim, what are those websites?
So the first one is Black Doctors USA. That's Black Doctors USA, and that site, like she said, like Lisa said, it allows you to find a Black physician in your area. This service, however, for this particular site, this service is currently available in 8 states. So once you go to blackdoctorsusa.com, you can look to see if your state is one of those 8 that you can find. They have a range of specialties, and all you have to do is fill out the short questionnaire to request additional information. Now, the second one is blackdoctor.org.
Mhm.
And with blackdoctor.org, you're entering in your zip code. There was nothing that indicated to me areas that were off limits or that it was only limited to a particular region. So with
Mhm.
this particular site, you just enter in your zip code, the specialty services that you're looking for, and your insurance information. And based upon that, it would let you know if there's any doctors that match that criteria. So once again, that's the first one was blackdoctorsusa.com, and the second one is blackdoctor.org, and that's spelled out DOCTOR.
Excellent, excellent. So, you know, guys, please use these resources because I know it can be a little awkward, trying to find a Black doctor. You don't want to call, office and be like, "I got any Black doctors?" You kind of don't want to do that, but you do want to be diligent in finding a Black doctor for the reasons that we've talked about, but also because, we should support our Black doctors.
Mhm,
They can't continue to practice if they don't have patients. And
mhm,
so, we can make sure that we are keeping them in business while also making sure that we get care from someone who understands our culture.
100%.
All right. So we have a new, brand spanking new segment called New Day's Resolution. We are starting a new year. And I know everyone, not everyone, but a lot of us like to have New Year's resolutions that we
Mhm.
keep for a whole month. So I thought,
If that.
I thought we would start a little early and do something a little different. So I'm calling it New Day's Resolution because I've found it to be easier to think about making resolutions or making changes day by day. If you think
Mhm.
about, okay, today I'm going to do this, and
Mhm.
tomorrow I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. So, what I'm suggesting is you pick one small thing that you want to start doing, stop doing, or incorporate in your life in some way. Commit to that one small thing today, not tomorrow, today, and recommit every day until it becomes a habit and a natural part of your daily routine. Share
Mhm.
it with someone and ask them to be your accountability partner. Don't wait until next year because you're not guaranteed to see next year. Let's just be real about that. You
Mhm.
have today. Okay. So pick one thing. Don't make this long list of resolutions. Make it easier on yourself. Set yourself up for success, right?
Mhm.
Pick one
Mhm.
thing. And once that becomes a habit, go on to the next. Next thing you know, you're making these super changes that you've been wanting to make for a long time. So, New Day's resolution. Pick one small thing today, and we're going to participate too, right? And
Mhm.
we'll follow up with you and share our journey in this right along with you. And when the new year begins, we'll already have a head start.
That's right.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So the next segment is the part I really like. For the most part, it's not always great stuff, but some of it can be a little fun. It's our segment called Footnotes. It's where we just talk about different topics or news that has kind of come up after we've already planned the show, but it's something that we, really want to recognize, or it's just too good not to talk about.
Mhm.
But the first thing is we want to pay some respects. Who do we have first? We have uh, the
Um.
death. Oh, go
Yeah.
ahead. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead.
we have the death of Natalie Desal Reed. She was actually an actress that I remember most from the movie Baps.
Mhm.
What else did she play in?
She was in something with Medea, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Um. But yeah, I remember her most from Baps as
From
well.
Baps, yeah.
Yeah.
That movie that was oh so bad, but oh so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe she was in her 50s and she died of colon cancer.
Yes, she was
Yeah.
53.
So we
Yeah.
just wanted to recognize her and send thoughts and prayers to her family, friends, her loved ones, and say, rest in peace.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, on to our next footnote. This came out a little while ago, but I'm sorry, I had to do it. So, this is a story. Dad refuses to drive his wife to the hospital after she picks her sister over him for the delivery room. Okay. So I believe this article might be a little too long to read, but let me double check that if I can open it. But the gist of it is there's a couple, they're having a baby, married couple, they're having a baby, and they can, only have one extra person in the room during delivery. So mama decides she wants her sister in the delivery room. And so that means that dad cannot be in the delivery room. And she believes that that's okay and he should just sit down and it's all about her and what she wants and what she needs. And she doesn't feel like he can be the support that she needs him to be. And that's that. So they kind of just giving you a rundown of the story. They kind of go back and forth about it. And um, So he comes to the conclusion that, all right, if you feel like you don't want me or need me in the delivery room and you need your sister instead, get a ride to the hospital from your sister. What are your thoughts on this, Madam Butterfly?
Oh my gosh, I swear to you, like, people are going to think we're woman haters.
We're
Seriously.
not. We're not.
I just, it's funny to me that this man is supportive enough for you to marry.
Mm. And
He's
have a child with.
supportive. Oh, I was getting there. He's supportive
Sorry.
enough for you to effectively and efficiently collect his essence so that you can be with child.
Mm.
But somehow
Mm.
the support just runs out when it comes to him being available to watch his actual child
Mm.
come into the world.
Mm.
This is asinine to me. And not only is it asinine, but there were a whole lot of comments from women
Mm-hmm.
trying to justify
Mm-hmm.
this woman's complete disregard
Yep.
for her husband's role in their child's life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it just kind of goes because we talked in a previous episode about how the father's role is just um, belittled or
Mm-hmm.
diminished or made to seem as though it's not valid. You
Right.
know, he was such a great guy for you to put yourself in this position to be committed to and procreate with this person.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't even have enough respect for him,
Mm.
or you think that you have the right to dictate
Mm-hmm.
whether he sees his child being brought into the world.
Yeah.
It is asinine and it is disgusting
It
to me.
is.
I'm like, I'm so I'm just it's mind-boggling to me. And one of the comments that stood out to me the most because it was just so ridiculous was someone mentioned that back in the 50s and
Yes.
60s that men weren't allowed in the rooms. Well,
Yes.
hello, it's 2020 because a whole lot of stuff was going on in the 50s.
Thank
Like
you.
they was giving women liquor to knock them out, all kinds of, like the women wasn't even present in the delivery. They would just wake up and have a baby. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, hello.
It was a
When
whole
did,
lot of stuff
when did
going
you get
on.
here?
I'm just saying. So I don't think that we want to revisit that path. Okay.
No.
Like the bottom line is this is just the beginning of his headache with this woman
Okay.
because she has already drawn a line in the sand on who she believes this child belongs to.
Mm.
And all I can say is the moment that they split, because it's coming, the moment that they split, he better go straight to the courthouse, do not pass go, do not collect $200, and get all of that paperwork set in stone because she basically has declared that his position in regards to this child is obsolete.
Yeah. There's more to the story, Madam Butterfly.
Please continue.
So hold your mute on that part. We're gonna get there. But
Mhm.
I am totally with you in everything that you just said. And it is amazing to me, like you said, all of the comments. It's there's no regard for him. It's all about her. And the thing is, you are the one carrying the baby, right?
Mhm.
So if you cared anything about him, respected him, loved him, liked him, you know, you would say, okay, since I'm the one carrying the baby, I have to make sure that he's in a position to be a part of this whole process.
Mhm.
in any way that he can be, right?
Mhm.
So, of course, you should want him to be there, whatever it is that he's comfortable with, that we are both comfortable with, to make sure he's there. If you love him and y'all have this bond that you should have because you created this child, you should want to share that with him. You should,
Mhm.
there's just this disconnect that I'm just not getting, and I'm not understanding women being on her side of this.
Mhm.
And in the story, he talks about it got so bad that she ended up moving out for a while and staying with family members because she was so, mad about the whole argument. And he says that people were calling him saying, well, just let it go. Stop being a butthole. He's not being a butthole. He's
Mhm.
saying, I want to be there for the birth of my child. And I feel like I have the right to be there. And I'm not letting this go.
Right.
And why should he? I
Mhm.
don't like, and to me, this is the other thing. The sister should be like, you know what? Look, nope, I'm out.
Mhm.
I don't want to be a part of this piece of history that I was the one in there instead of him.
Mhm.
So, you know, that would that wouldn't change the fact that the wife didn't want him in, but it would give him an in by default, which doesn't solve the issue at hand, but it still does put him in the wrong, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I kind of take issue with whoever the sister is not saying you couldn't pay me to be in that room at this point.
Right. That's real.
You know,
That's
like
real.
nobody in the whole family pulled her aside and was like, you tripping. Nobody.
Right.
Nobody. Not mama, not grandma, obviously not sister, auntie, friend, nobody.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But see, if he were to say, "Bump it, I don't want to be a part of this child's life," then he would be all kinds of
Oh,
deadbeats and all of this kind of stuff.
yeah.
He's saying, "I want to actively participate in the birth of my child,"
Yeah.
and somehow he's wrong.
Right. And then he extra wrong because he like, well, if I ain't gonna be in the room, what I'm coming to the hospital for? And I agree. I totally for what? For what?
Ah.
To sit there looking stupid,
Right.
wondering, I wonder if my child was born yet. Like, for what?
That's crazy.
So, um, in the story, where should I start? A lot of people suspected, it says, because this is a long story, it actually is. A lot of people suspected there was more to the story. Um, let's see. As it turns out, there was a comment made about divorce, and it says, as it turns out, that comment about divorce might have been prophetic. In an update to his post, the dad to be shared that he and his wife have since talked things out. Well, sort of. And there's a quote. After talking with some of you last night, I reached out to my wife this morning about the state of things in our relationship, he explained. Mostly, I wanted to know if she was planning to come home anytime soon. She said that she wasn't, as I had suspected. She also let him know that in addition to her not making plans to come home, a family member has agreed to drive her to the hospital when the time comes. Okie dokie. And then the man dropped kind of a bombshell. Quote, we'll see what happens after the baby is born, but I don't think that it's likely we'll stay together. And given our differences and differing views on marriage, that may be for the best anyway, he continued. I feel like our relationship has run its course and we're not a good fit for each other.
Woo woo.
Yeah. He said, I had already contacted a divorce attorney just to discuss a possible separation and things I might need to do to prepare for divorce. So I'll go ahead and start making plans, assuming we're divorcing, he continued. I probably will end up doing a paternity test so I can confirm the baby is actually mine, since some of you are saying you don't believe it is.
Whew.
Yeah. So I don't think that's unreasonable
I
because
don't think so either.
she's acting a little wackadoo.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I just
That's
thought
what
this was
happened.
an interesting story, and it tickled me so because she seemed like she wanted to put on her big girl panties and be like, I want my sister in the room and you just gonna deal with it. And there's nothing you can do about it. And it's like, there's some things I can do.
Actually,
You know, there are actually some things I can do, and you're not gonna like any of them.
that's real. That's real.
So,
And uh, I have said many times, not necessarily on this platform, I'm not really sure, but uh, ladies, or I should say, custodial parents, you have to
mhm,
be very careful with allowing your feelings to take priority over what is best for your child.
mhm,
And parental alienation is a crime.
mhm,
So trying to withhold children from a parent just because you feel in some type of way,
mhm,
um, you could be charged with
mm.
parental alienation for that. So
And yeah, and I'm sure his lawyer discussed that with him when he went to his lawyer.
hmm
I'm sure he did.
yeah.
So yeah,
Ay, ay, ay.
I feel sorry for him, but I'm also proud of him standing up for himself when it seems like no one else was kind of hearing him,
Right.
or I'm sure he felt like he was in the twilight zone at some
Yeah.
point, like, but I'm glad he stuck to his guns because he was not wrong at all.
hmm At all.
Um, so, all right, we are going to quickly go into back to talking about healthcare. We wanted to make sure before we go that we talk about the COVID vaccine and this whole controversy that came about with Letitia Wright.
hmm
So Letitia Wright, who is the actress from Black Panther, she put out tweets, um, and it started with the tweet she put out that had the link to a video of someone speaking about the COVID vaccine, and evidently this person had some very controversial ideas in terms of the vaccine, and I think vaccines in general. And so she caught a lot of flack for that. And she was just pretty much putting out there that we need to ask questions and, that we kind of should look at this vaccine a little side eyed and just be weary, a little leery. And she just caught it for that. I mean, cancel culture was just like, coming for her. Um, in terms of that, what are your thoughts, Madam Butterfly?
Well, just generally speaking, I have an issue with the whole cancel culture
Mm-hmm.
across the board. I think that there are certain situations where it's appropriate,
Mm-hmm.
um, but this whole thing of, if I don't agree with you,
Yeah.
then you no longer have the right to earning a living.
Mm.
Um, I have a problem with that, you know.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the subject matter of, as far as the COVID vaccination, I mean, hey, a lot of people are questioning the legitimacy of these vaccinations. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so that part of it, um, to me, is, well, anything that somebody says is, it's valid to them. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to say that's valid. You know what I mean? Because it's valid to her. It was valid to her.
Mm-hmm.
I think where I think where things got kind of convoluted in this particular situation is because whatever source that she tagged or referenced or whatever had some other topics in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there were some people that had issues with the other things that were mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
which I believe had to do with climate change and something with, like, transgender
Yeah.
issues,
Mm-hmm.
or gender, something having to do with that. So um, you know, that is its own subject matter, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to stick with the COVID.
Right.
COVID part of the conversation to go with the show.
Mhm.
Um, First of all, one of the companies that manufactured the vaccine, I want to say it was Moderna, um, they cultivated this vaccine in 2 days.
Mhm.
So I don't know of anybody who would be comfortable
Mhm.
with taking a vaccine that was cultivated in 2 days.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes longer than that to cook Thanksgiving dinner. You
Okay.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
And
so,
we know what's in that.
right, right. So another thing that I saw on TV was a professor from a university was talking about the whole testing method because people were questioning how quickly all of this went down, and
Mhm.
he was basically saying he was basically trying to assure people that um, every checkpoint was met in this
Mhm.
whole process, even though it was faster. But all of the checks and balances that they have in place in manufacturing something like this was actually done.
Mhm.
It's just that some of those trials were done simultaneously. In
Hmm.
particular, he said that the animal testing and the human testing was done at the same time.
Hmm.
So I was like, huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And not only that, how many times have we heard these quiet commercials? Because
Mhm.
first of all, you see the commercial where somebody's swimming and riding a bike and their life is so much better because they didn't took Zavudio, right?
Mhm.
And so then after taking Zavudio for a good 12 months, then it's the quiet commercial. Did you or someone you know take Zavudio and now you're dead?
Right.
Or
Oh, now your right pinky is falling off.
call the law officers of such and such.
Yeah.
Like, it happens all the time
Yeah.
to the point that we've become desensitized when we see these commercials.
Absolutely.
It's just like any other commercial. It's like,
Absolutely. Because
wait a
as they're
minute.
showing you them swimming and riding horses, they're saying, if you develop, explosion in your anus, or if you start, I don't know, bleeding from your eye, please refrain from taking this medication. But it's all while they're showing somebody happily trotting on a horse. So you're not
Right.
listening to what they're saying. You're like, oh, that's a beautiful horse. You
Right.
know, all while they're talking about your anus implode.
It's so true. It's
Yeah.
so true. Like, how many people have to suffer from trusting these misleading commercials and trusting these doctors
Yeah.
who are being paid
Mm,
by pharmaceutical companies in order to push the product. You know what I
absolutely.
mean? And so
Absolutely.
that's just in the everyday meds,
Yeah.
that have gone through a long vetting trial process
And been
approved by the
approved
FDA.
by the
Yes,
FDA, whose
yes,
approval don't mean much of nothing. But okay.
nothing. And it takes a year for for the next commercial to come on that you need to call the law offices and
Right.
such and such.
Yeah.
So my thing is, in the case of Moderna, because I'm not sure how long it took Pfizer to actually manufacture the vaccine, but with Moderna, it took 2 days. So
Mm.
it took you 2 days to manufacture it, and then you did all of this testing, and now it's starting to be administered in the UK. Okay, so the clock starts to tick now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So December of 2021, we should start hearing these quiet commercials for people who have taken the COVID vaccine.
Yeah.
So, who's to say what's going to happen? People might just completely flip inside out, literally.
Yeah, literally. But we can't ask no questions or you're gonna be canceled.
It's real.
So
It's real.
guys, stay on top of this. Do your research. I know there will be some time before us mere mortals here in the US who will get to look at this vaccine.
Right,
Um,
right.
but stay informed, ask questions, do your research for yourself. You know, I don't know the details of all that was in that video that Letitia Wright posted. I'm thinking just from the little bit I know that the issue wasn't so much as she asked questions, but people focused on the thoughts and the ideas of the person in that video. That's what I
Right,
believe. I don't know.
right. And she was collateral damage and an easy
Yeah,
target. You know what I mean? Let's
absolutely.
just be real. She was an easy target because there are plenty of white celebrities who are anti-vaxxers
Right.
and all of that kind of stuff, and they have not been canceled for having that thought process.
Yep.
I mean, California is filled to the brim with anti-vaxxers and
Yes.
the non-traditionalists when it comes to education,
Yep.
medicine, health, all of that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
this is
I have
not
never seen or heard so much about homeschooling in my life since I moved here to California and charter schools
I
out
can
here.
believe it. I
So,
can believe it. But I did want to give a shout out to our listener who suggested
mhm.
that we speak on that topic, and that is, I hope I'm saying it right, Zayas B. Lou.
Yeah,
Zayas B. Lou. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much
absolutely.
for commenting. And, please, to all of our listeners, if you have a topic that you want us to discuss,
Yes.
don't hesitate. Put it in the
Yeah,
comments. Hit us up. Let
absolutely.
us let us know what you want to hear. So we
Yeah,
appreciate you.
absolutely. And guys, we'd love for you to go to our Facebook group page and start conversations about what we're talking about. And again, make suggestions about what you want us to talk about. Um, Agree, disagree. I mean, we love the interaction, the conversation. So thank you so much. So, guys, we are way past time because it's just such a great topic. But thank you all, as always, for joining us here on Black Together, a Walk in Her Shoes. Um, Make sure to check us out every Friday here on ThatNERDSoul.com. Also, check out his other videos, video games, anything Black geek culture. Check us out on Facebook, BT A Walk in Her Shoes, on Instagram, BT underscore Walk in Her Shoes, and on Twitter, BT A Walk in Her SH1. Thank you again for listening. Bye, y'all.
Peace, love, and light, everybody.